And I
Yeah.
think who is going to be the heir is like the big thing of this episode. I think he smashes in his skull with his iron fist to an extent that he's barely recognizable. Castrated and tortured. Why do you say that? You know, it's clear now. The fight for the throne begins. Hello, friends of Game of Thrones. Welcome to our spoiler review of episode 5 of The House of the Dragon. And this is an episode where a lot of stuff happens. And if you are romantically involved with anyone in The House of the Dragon, fear for your life in this episode. A lot of people lose on purpose or by accident their partners, at least 2, if not more. I don't know. 3, I think. 3. Okay, what happens? I mean, it starts off, one of the first things we see, Daemon being his worst, killing off his wife. And apparently, to start with, he seems to get away with it. But then later on, we don't know, her brother or whatever it is, no, her uncle comes and questions the whole thing, which makes me wonder, how does it work in Game of Thrones? Can you inherit something from the person you've killed? I mean, I know in most countries today that isn't possible if it can be proven. But how does that work in Game of Thrones in the first place? And second of all, can it be proven?
Yeah, and this cousin or uncle or whatever of Damon's now ex-wife, he has a suspicion. So maybe he saw something. At least he said goodbye to her when she rode out. So it's interesting. So at least he has a suspicion. But I thought the scene was strange anyway, because she said, you never bring anything to the end. And so she's afraid on the one hand, then she mocks him, and then
it looked like she was paralyzed. You know, it looks like maybe
yes, her back was
her
broken,
spine was
probably
broken or something.
spine.
She
Yes,
couldn't even move her arms, how it appeared. So she just wanted
yes,
him to finish it, I guess.
yes,
She provoked him rather
maybe,
than leaving her a cripple or leaving her to the animals or something like this.
yeah,
I think that was
maybe,
probably, that might have been her fear. You know, I mean, that he would just leave her there and then some wolves or something would kill her, which would be obviously a lot more cruel.
mm,
Mhm.
yeah, it could be.
No, he wasn't exactly nice, you know.
No, and it was a strange scene because he's a fighter, he's a warrior, and of course, when he picks up the stone, it's obvious. So he wants to conceal his crime.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that doesn't make him the most sympathetic guy in
Yeah.
Game of Thrones for sure,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
still, he's still way ahead of something like Ramsay Bolton.
And he only appears 3 times in this episode, but he makes an impact in these
Yes, I
in
mean,
these.
for once, I think he is one of the more interesting characters, that's for sure. Um, Despite the fact that it's very difficult to like him.
Yes.
But at least he does stuff, you know. He's not somebody to whom stuff just happens all the time. And I think at least his actions make sort of sense. I'm not entirely sure what his agenda is, but it makes sense that he kills his wife if he wants to be available for a better option, which seems to be the case here. And because he thinks he will inherit what his wife already owns, and I
Runestone.
guess
Yes.
there's nothing else that he can benefit from her. And I think there was this scene which was a little unclear earlier, that she might not be able to have any heirs or any children, and that would be another reason for him, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it was said, but they actually didn't have any children, and He mocks in one situation, says the sheep are prettier than the women of the Vale, but maybe this is just to conceal that she cannot conceive, or maybe I don't know. Does he have any children, any bastard children? That's a good
Not as far as
question.
we know. And I think who is going to be the heir is like the big thing of this episode. So we have this conversation between Alicent and Otto, that she might be at the mercy of Rhaenyra if
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra, yeah, Daenerys,
Yes.
Rhaenyra, whatever.
And he surprised me. He surprised me. I got a good impression from him in that scene. So he was very rational, very straightforward, without, making greater problems. He just says as it is, as he sees things,
Yeah.
and I guess
and
he's
he
right.
gave her a choice. He gave her a choice.
Yes.
I mean, I like to think of Rhaenyra as a maybe more likely a good character, but I mean, he's right. We don't know. This is Game of Thrones. So is it a good idea for Alicent to trust enough that Rhaenyra will not kill her and her son? And what happens right now is, I mean, there's no chance to push for anybody's legitimacy anymore, because at the end, basically, it's clear now the fight for the throne begins, if there is any fight,
Yes.
Because if I got this right, Viserys is history.
Yeah, I guess so too. I mean, he from episode to episode he looks more sick and more sick from time to time, and he's coughing blood now, I believe. And we had that strange scene where he wears the gloves, and I had the impression that he also has those marks on the hand, maybe, which we saw on the first or second
But
episode on his
I think in
back.
the final scene he is dead, isn't he?
Is he? Okay.
I guess so. It
Yeah.
looks a bit like it.
So
but we cannot know what. Yeah.
That's at least how I interpreted it. Anyway, but we get all these things about who has an alliance with whom. So basically we have this alliance between this alliance between Corlys, or Corlys' son, and I think he's called Sir Lanner, and Rhaenyra. And they have this understanding that, I mean, he is gay and she is not interested in him, and they just have a few children and then do whatever they want.
So that's the deal. Yes,
that's the deal. But
and for them it is fine, but for Kristen it's not.
Yeah, I suppose it's easier for her than for him. I don't know. But I think Sir Kristen is presented as this, I don't know even what he is. He at one moment he's the super righteous person who wants to do it right. He doesn't want to be his whore or something like that. Her whore. And he says, "Come on, let's flee." And she goes, "Yeah, but power. Why would I want to do that?"
And also duty.
Yeah, and duty and power, duty and power. I don't know. But anyway, so that's
but
not working out so well.
it's also a contradiction, because for Sir Kristen to leave his oath, which is a great thing for him, so it's rather like he was desperate at this moment. I guess
it was kind of weird. So on the one hand, he was not so clear that he would not break his oath. On the other hand, then he has this big regret, and then he wants to make it good and be the nice husband, and then that doesn't work out. And then again he has this moment when Alicent speaks to him, where first of all he's like a fucking bad listener. If he had just listened to her, what she actually asked, he would have realized that there was no question about him speaking about his relationship
Yeah,
with Rhaenyra, but he didn't listen. So,
yeah,
and that's always bad.
yeah. Now we have the situation that Alicent and Rhaenyra are in, or at least Rhaenyra is in a very, very bad standing.
Yeah.
But at Alicent, and
she's at least compromised.
yeah.
And her secret is known. And at the same time, then he has this whole, I come clear and I tell all the truth that nobody really asked for.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, I don't know. I mean, that was like totally weird. I mean, he was like, okay, please don't castrate me and torture me. And
torture.
Like, if that's what's gonna happen, you're gonna be castrated and tortured. Why do you say that? Why on earth would you do that?
I guess was it really castrate? I guess it was torture and anyway. But I think his attention was so much with his own failure, with his own, mistakes, that he misinterpreted Alicent's question.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah. I think it's a very interesting lesson. He does not listen because he's so full of his own problems and whatever that he doesn't even realize what's actually going on.
And for Alicent, a world breaks together. So her world breaks. You can see that.
And
she's
the bad thing is there were those sayings about Daemon and Rhaenyra, and Alicent was doubting the whole time, and now she believes something. Yeah, what didn't really happen. So because we are still unsure if Rhaenyra and Daemon had sex, they were seen together, but
we don't know. But it doesn't matter anymore. I think in a way.
I guess she thought of Sir Criston then rather than Daemon. So for Daemon, she cannot be sure. But then we see Daemon at the feast, and he tries to kiss Rhaenyra, and Viserys sees it and grows angry, and we seldom see him angry. And I cannot remember if Alicent saw that. But this was Daemon as a demon.
But then I think that's the main scene. The main scene of the whole thing, or the beginning to the main scene. So, I think where everything breaks into pieces, and I mean, there's this provocation. Then the friend of Rhaenyra speaks to Sir Christian. And he tries to calm him down or kind of make a pact with him and say, look, we both are important, not knowing that Sir Christian doesn't like that role in the first place, not knowing that he's already betrayed what he wants to make him keep secret. And somehow, I don't know, a moment later, and I really didn't get this scene. I'm curious what you guys think, and I'm curious what our viewers think. At some point, a fight breaks out, and I'm not sure who really started it, but what I saw at some point, Sir Christian was actually originally in a fight with Sir Rhaenyra, and then somehow his friend gets involved, and his friend tries to stab him, and then Sir Christian basically kills Sir Rhaenyra's friend, and I think he smashes in his skull with his iron fist to an extent that he's barely recognizable. So that was really, really bad.
Yes, it was.
And of course, now we have a situation where both Daenerys and especially Rhaenyra is very unhappy, but they still carry it through, I guess, because technically speaking, they can't even communicate this because why would Rhaenyra be grieving for somebody who was just a friend? I mean, he could grieve for him, but it's not like, it's not like he could grieve. It would be like grieving for a lover, so it wouldn't be so important. And so that they also really have no way of postponing that, I guess. So they do it. They carry it through. And
you mean the marriage? Oh,
the marriage, yeah, the
yeah.
marriage. And then basically Viserys dies. So Christian is trying to commit suicide, but is kind of kept from it by
For the
Lady
moment,
Allison.
yes.
Well, we don't know whether that will. I think he will go away surviving, and maybe they do kind of like a pact of revenge or something like this. I don't know, or I don't know what they want to. I don't know what, but I don't get it. I mean, what really happened there? What really happened there? I mean, how did this fight really start?
It was difficult to say. So I watched it twice and I couldn't make it out. It was so much chaos.
Yeah, and I think that was on purpose. So it was really bad storytelling, yes. I guess.
It leaves many question marks in the heads of people.
We don't know what happened. And
so the one thing we know is that Sir Kristen watched very disdainfully and very angry the scenery. So
but it was not enough to motivate his behavior. I don't think that makes any sense.
I guess in the way he thinks is that he believes in something, a greater good, and then he loses it. And he lost it when he considers himself a whore to Rhaenyra, when he's supposed to be her lover instead of her husband. And at the same time, it means that the marriage is not an honest thing. So I guess maybe he should know that this is the usual way it goes, but maybe he didn't, or maybe he expected a better thing from her.
The only thing I can
so
think
he
of
was disillusioned.
Yeah, maybe. I think the only way I can think of this is maybe he was a person who really had this high ideals, and once they broke down, everything broke down for him. Like,
yes,
a borderline person in a way, you know,
yes,
very
I guess,
idealistic. And then once that didn't work out, he became the absolute opposite of it, yes, and then just wanted to kill everybody out of disappointment or something.
At least some persons who were at hand and who made him angry as well. And this is what he said. He said he had hoped to marry Rhaenyra because he had broken his oath as a king's guard, and he could, undo this oath breaking by marrying her, by making it legal. And now this possibility is away, and he's supposed to what he calls being a whore. But it is not, because
he didn't get paid. I mean, I don't know. Do the guards get paid? But not for that kind of service.
Not for that kind. But he's disillusioned. So yeah.
Yeah, and also dishonored now. I mean, he's a murderer now. Clearly, I guess
he was dishonored before, because when Selena's
that wasn't official. I mean, that was maybe
when
for him.
When his friend came, he knew that virtually everybody could know about it, I guess. So this was probably the last bit that made him go crazy.
So now I think we have like this climactic transformational point where everything goes crazy now. Now, way too early and way too unprepared. I guess most likely Rhaenyra and Sir Lannister will be the heirs to the throne. That's at least the immediate thing that could happen, unless somebody seizes power right away. And I think they're a pretty powerful alliance. So alliance. Fuck. I think they will probably be able to put her on the throne. Question is, can she stay? Because she's still young, she's still unprepared. This alliance is just freshly forged, even though it's strongly forged through marriage. But then Alicent has I don't know how powerful that information actually is, because I mean, the truth is, saying that she wasn't a virgin anymore, how much does it affect his Rhaenyra's gay husband? Will he really care? I don't think he does. So it may be public opinion does, but it's not such important a thing, you know. does that really weaken her so much? If her, I mean, she's married now. It doesn't normally that's at least the way I understood medieval society on which this whole thing is modeled. The problem is, will you get somebody to marry you? But once you're married, not sure that is really an issue.
But we see that Otto Hightower brings in some ally for Alicent to protect her, because she's now without protection. He has to leave as hand, so he sends some relatives who assure her that she's not alone and she needs protection. She will, if according to Otto, Rhaenyra gets questioned, her queenship, then she may have to kill her or whatever. So she gets protection now, and so things will unfold. And the friendship of the two will, of course, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has a blemish. And then there's this creepy guy who I think is a new hand. The hunchback guy, you know.
Yes.
What was him? I mean, he comes across. He has a little bit of an attitude of
he pretends to care, but he's a bad guy. So he says, I hope Rhaenyra is well. She got that tea, and now Alicent with this information and with the information. Yeah,
it's sneaky. He reminds me of Littlefinger and the eunuch. What was his name? Now the master of information, or what he was called.
Varys.
Varys. It's a kind of a mixture between those two. I think he's not as loyal and as honest as Viserys. He's more like Littlefinger, but he has a little bit that kind of quality, even though he's not yet. I don't know, I'm sorry, but these characters very often come to me across as copies or lesser versions of the characters we've already seen.
Yes, a bit. Sense? Yes, absolutely.
I mean, he doesn't. I
had the same impression, because I thought that Kristen is a bit like Ned Stark. So he believes in principles, but he fails at the realities of court life.
I think he's not as strong as Ned Stark at all.
He's not.
Actually, he reminded me more a little bit in his ability to fail, so to speak. I really should remember the names. It's so long ago. What was he called? The guy who lost his hand. Help me out. The Lannister.
Jamie
Lannister. Jamie Lannister. A little bit like him, to be honest. Like, he wanted to be a good guy, and he kind of was at the end a little bit, but also he wanted to please his queen. So he has high morals, but not.
Jamie was compromised very much. So Kristen is not. But I see your point.
Yeah, but Jamie wanted to do something good originally. Even I think the original he was compromised originally by killing the Mad King, and everybody thought he's a sneaky murderer. But he wanted to prevent death on a big scale, and to his family on a big scale. So I think he's not such a bad guy as we have thought most of the time. And I think
for Jamie, that's true. But your comparison, I'm not totally convinced.
Kristen is also he has high ideals. It's a bit like borderline-ish, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And everything. But I think it's very interesting. Let's
come to the end, and in both senses of the words. Because in the end, after the marriage, when Viserys falls down, we see a rat in the front, and the rat is licking blood. So this looks a bit like a foreshadowing of bloodshed, of war.
Okay,
whatever.
I'm sure now we are at the point where all parties who think they have a chance for the throne make their move, because if they don't make it now, they don't want to wait until the throne situation's more established, I guess. So that's the moment to where things are still in flow and to make a move. I think Rhaenyra will be the immediate person who will take the throne. And she may have the power because I think it's the strongest alliance that I'm aware of. I don't know how strong other people are, the Lannisters or whoever. They may be powerful, or I don't think that Daemon has the power to seize the throne immediately. At least not from what I've seen. I mean, maybe he has powerful allies that in the Free Cities or something that we don't know about.
Maybe, yes.
But I think most likely that'll be it.
And I think one of Alicent's next moves might be to take Sir Criston to her side, because he's a warrior, he can protect her, and maybe she will need protection.
That's what she already started to do.
Yes. It's the first step towards it.
Yeah, well, but I think she actually, it's too late for her to actually enforce the rule of her son, or to, because
he's still so small a child. I wondered about the timeline, we spoke about it, and he's not.
I mean, he cannot rule. She could rule in his stead, but nothing has been prepared to allow for this. And unless she has the support of a lot of other houses, which of course she may try together now, that's going to be difficult.
Yes.
I think even Daemon's claim and chances would be stronger. I think it's actually the only real competitor. It's Alicent, it's Daemon, and it's Rhaenyra. I don't see anybody else.
Yeah, and Lord Corlys is powerful as well. So
yes, but he will.
But he cannot fight everybody, and he doesn't have any dragons. So
yeah, but Lord Corlys is the father of Sir Lannister, and they are now in an alliance with. It's the same side as Rhaenyra. I mean, he will want to have his.
Yes, sure, but that's what I meant. So that's that side of the coin. He's powerful. He can protect her probably, but probably not.
I mean, the crown has forces. He has forces.
Yes.
Will this be enough? I don't know. What will the other lords and ladies and noble people do?
Yes.
The other houses. Okay, so I think that's it. I'm very curious what our viewers think, how this whole thing happened. How did this fight happen that started this whole thing? And would Viserys have died if this horrible fight scene didn't happen? Maybe he would. Maybe it doesn't affect him. Maybe it wasn't so emotional. But anyway, what do you think? How is going on? And how do you think we'll seize power? That's my question. What are your last thoughts for this episode?
I guess some more chaos will go on, probably, because some people will be surprised and will find out their chances and try their chances.
Yeah, and I'm also very curious how the fights will go on. And yeah, I expect a lot of blood in the next episodes. So
there was a lot of blood in this episode already.
I will expect more blood.
More blood. Okay. What do you guys think at home? Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Send us your comments.
Yes, comments. We want to know your opinion. Okay. Looking forward to see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.